Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Podcast channel here at YouTube, where Metaltober is still in session. So for this episode, I was able to pile up my top 10 liked Halloween themed metal songs. And with these lists, they are usually kind of tough to put together because of some songs will make it, but some songs will not make it. So before I do get into the list, it's time to actually get into my honorable mention, which was in the list at first, but then was taken off. And that, of course, was Halloween Queen by Acid, taken off the Engine Beast album. And it's not a bad song, but it's not nearly one of Acid's best. And of course, the album itself isn't nearly as good, but it's still not a bad album at all. But the song itself, yeah, it's alright. But still, it deserved to be an honorable mention. So, now, finally into the actual 10 lists. And so, coming in at number 10 is, well, called Halloween. And this, of course, is by a new wave of British heavy metal band called Seducer. And it was taken off their very first full-length album titled Cut in the Act. And by the time of 1983, the whole new wave of British heavy metal sound was still somewhat there, but you can tell that it was starting to get a little bit stale. Even though you still had some great bands at the time, such as Satan, Jaguar, even Raven released the All For One album, which was a great album. But Seducer, probably not the best band to come out of the whole movement, but still, it wasn't any bad, at least. But the song itself, which is called, like I said, Halloween, is not a bad song. But it's not nearly as much to be, put as one of the best songs or so. But still, it's not bad. So, enough said. Moving on. Coming in, number 9 is, of course, titled Night of the Halloween. And is by another new wave of British heavy metal band. And they are called Touched. And it was taken off their second and final album titled Death Row. And again, probably a little better than the other new wave of British heavy metal song here by another new wave of British heavy metal band, Seducer. But it's still not nearly as good. And by the time of 1986, which was the album that it was released the year, it not nearly as good. It's, again, by that time, it pretty much had grown stale. Still, it's not a bad song at all. Kind of reminds me a little bit of, reminds me a little bit of Samurai, who are, of course, were another new wave of British heavy metal band, and were on the Ebony label as well. And it's kind of typical of the Ebony label by that time, but still, it's not a bad song at all. So, coming in at number 8 is, of course, called Halloween. And it was released by Swedish metal band 220 Volt. And it was taken off the Mind Over Muscle album. And this one's kind of typical of your Swedish metal stuff about that time. But still, it's not a bad song. Kind of more so closer to early Europe. Still, not a bad song at all. Definitely kind of typical of that, 1985 sort of, heavy metal. But still, good. Coming in at number 7 is, of course, called Halloween Night. And, of course, it's by a band, called Halloween, taken off the Victims of the Night album. And just very much, if you were familiar with their Don't Meddle with Evil album, this is very typical of Halloween. Of course, almost every song by Halloween is all Halloween themed. Hell, they're called Halloween. So, take what you get. Still, good song, definitely not bad at all. Definitely worth the listen as well. Coming in at number 6 is, of course, called, again, Halloween. It, of course, was by Belgian metal band Ostergoth, taken off their second album, Too Hot. And it's kind of typical for the album itself. It's definitely good. Kind of similar to the 220 Volt track, but still, it's not bad. And it's very typical, of course, of the Mausoleum label, so it's still not a bad song. I like it. The album itself wasn't too bad as well. Probably not as good as their first album or even their EP, but still, it's definitely a worthy track. So, coming in at number 5 is, of course, well, Killer on Halloween by Swedish metal band Detest, taken off the Death Dance demo. And this, of course, if you're familiar with the Thundersteel EP, or even the compilation, which the song is also can be found on, titled Thundersteel, which of course was released by Shadow Kingdom Records back in, I think, 2013. It's a definitely just a chainsaw sort of, riff, or so very slow and heavy. Just a really good tracks, and definitely has almost that sort of Halloween feel as well to it. It definitely just very haunting, very slow, almost kind of atmospheric, like I said. Still, definitely a good song, and why it definitely was put on the list. Coming in at number 4 is another song called Halloween. And this, of course, is by German metal band Avenger, who would then change their name to Rage, taking off their first album, Prayers of Steel, which I do have right here. I'll have to show that album right there. This, of course, is very much kind of typical or so of at least kind of that obscure German metal, kind of similar to the stuff you kind of got on the Earthshaker label. But still, this is still a very heavy track, still definitely is, just heavy. Pounding or so, what you expect from a German metal band, and it definitely belonged on the list. So coming in number 3 is, well, a song called Halloween. And of course it's by a really obscure metal band called Maniacs. It was taken off the Boys Night Out album, which was their only album. However, the song is a part of a 8-long song called The Witching Hour, which of course consists of a song called Halloween and Witch's Brew, which reminds me of another song called Witch's Brew that was by The Rods, which was off the In the Raw album, which I kind of forgot all about when putting this list together, but still, that song is also would fit this whole list as well, and it's definitely good. Still, on the whole song, The Witching Hour, it's definitely a very prog-ish sort of song. Almost got a bit of a Uriah Heep feel with this sort of synth or so sound, which is more organ almost. Still, very good track and has that sort of Halloween atmosphere. Coming in at number 2 is Halloween by Helloween, taken off Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1. And this, of course, is one of the longest songs Halloween ever recorded, and it's, of course, still has that sort of Euro power metal sound, kind of similar to even what Avenger would do as Rage or Scanner. It's a great track, long, very progressive, but still just a great song nonetheless. Finally, at number 1, if there's one song that is called Halloween that deserves to be listened to, or has to be listened to, or one of those that really is the number 1 Halloween track, it's Halloween by King Diamond, taken off the Fatal Portrait album. Enough said. If you've never listened to the Fatal Portrait album or anything by King Diamond, go and just stop the video right now and just go and listen to King Diamond and go listen to the song Halloween. That's all that has to be said. So, hope you enjoyed the list. Hope I turned you on to some the band Maniacs. I went on my Q&A video with the whole question that Vinyl Transmission had asked me about what metal album deserves to be reissued. That is obscure. Really obscure. It'd probably be also that album, but the thing is, I just rediscovered the album thanks to it being uploaded on the Heavy Metal Rarities forum as a lossless vinyl rip. But the thing that kind of had me to download it was because of it had 2 really unreleased demo tracks. Definitely weren't bad. But again, it kind of reacquainted myself with an album that I always wanted to get into, but finally did. Definitely good album, and I definitely do hope that that album at one day does see a actual CD or even just a reissue in general. So, again, hope I turned you on some new stuff. Hope you've found this list very enjoyable, very likable. So, until then, this is Heavy Thrashhead saying I'm out. And I'll definitely will see you still throughout this whole month of Metaltober. So, later.